Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty important, something that impacts, thousands of Australians every year. We're talking about the world of registered training organizations.
RTOs.
RTOs.
Yeah, and RTOs are really the backbone of Australia's vocational education and training system.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones who are giving people the practical skills to succeed in whatever fields they've chosen.
So we're diving into a brand new document for this deep dive.
Oh, okay.
The Outcome Standards Policy Guidance for 2024.
2024.
Yeah, think of it as like the blueprint for making sure RTOs are delivering, top-notch training and really giving students the tools they need to thrive.
Yeah, it's all about setting that high bar for quality and making sure that students are getting those real-world, job-ready skills that they need.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit.
Okay.
Imagine you're a student.
Yeah.
Thinking about enrolling in an RTO course.
Mm-hmm.
What would you want to know? What are some of the key things that these standards focus on?
So the first thing you want to know is the training. Engaging, is it relevant?
Right.
These standards actually emphasize that need for well-structured, hands-on training.
Okay.
It's about developing those skills that you can actually use in the real world,
Mm-hmm. So it's not just textbook knowledge.
No, exactly.
Yeah, I remember taking a course one time.
Oh, yeah.
And it felt like the instructor was just like reading from a slide deck.
Oh, yeah.
No, it wasn't inspiring at all.
No. These standards push for like a much more interactive and engaging learning experience.
Okay.
They also stress the importance of industry connections, so making sure that RTOs are really plugged into, what's going on.
What's happening, yeah.
In the real world, working with employers and industry experts to make sure that what they're teaching is up to date.
Okay, so no more learning outdated skills.
Exactly.
So that won't get you a job.
It's about making sure that when you graduate from an RTO, you actually have the skills employers are looking for.
That's crucial. What about assessment?
Okay.
How do these standards make sure that students are being evaluated fairly and consistently?
The standards are very clear on this.
Okay.
They emphasize the importance of fair, flexible, valid, and reliable assessment processes.
Okay.
So the assessment should be designed to really reflect what you've learned and adapt to your individual needs.
Okay, so that sounds like a big step forward from like the one-size-fits-all assessments.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember from, way back when.
Oh, for sure. And the standards also address recognizing prior learning.
RPL.
RPL, exactly.
Right.
So imagine, you've been working in a particular field for years,
Right.
but you don't have a formal qualification.
Yeah.
RPL allows you to actually get credit for the skills and knowledge that you've already acquired.
Oh, that's amazing.
It can save you time and money.
It's like getting credit
Yeah.
for real-world experience.
These standards are all about making sure that, while the assessment process is rigorous,
Yeah.
it's fair, it's flexible, and it recognizes that, students come from different backgrounds and have had different learning journeys.
So we've talked about the training itself.
Yep.
The assessment process.
Yeah.
What about the support that students receive outside of the classroom?
Right.
That's got to be a big part of this too, right?
You're absolutely right. The standards dedicate a whole section to VET student support.
Okay.
They emphasize students need more than just academic help.
To succeed.
To succeed, yeah.
So what does that look like in practice?
So first off, it means providing students with clear and accurate information about the training, the costs, any support services that are available, and their rights and obligations.
So transparency is key.
Transparency is key.
Yeah. No more hidden fees or confusing fine print.
And RTOs also need to advise students on whether or not the training is actually suitable for them,
Okay.
considering their existing skills and career goals.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's about making sure students are on the right path right from the get-go.
I can see how that'd be really helpful.
Yes.
Especially, for students who are new to VET or unsure about what they want to do.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just academic guidance.
Okay.
The standards highlight the importance of well-being support, reasonable adjustments for students with disabilities,
Right.
and creating an inclusive learning environment for everyone, with a particular focus on culturally safe environments for First Nations people.
I love that.
Yeah.
It recognizes that students are,
Whole people.
whole people, yeah.
Yes.
With lives outside of their studies. And that everyone deserves a chance to thrive
Yes.
in its supportive and inclusive environment.
It's about creating a system where everyone feels welcome, supported,
Yeah.
and empowered to succeed.
How do these standards make sure that student voices are heard? Like what happens if
That's a good question.
a student has a complaint or feels like something's not right?
The standards say that RTOs have to have a system for receiving feedback and resolving complaints.
Okay.
Students need to feel heard and have access to fair appeals processes.
If they need them.
Yeah.
So it's all about accountability and using that feedback to make things better for everybody.
Continuous improvement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't even talked about the qualifications of the trainers or the governance structures of the RTOs themselves.
Right.
But for now, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about these standards?
I think what strikes me is how holistic they are.
Okay.
It's not just about the content of the courses. It's about creating that supportive and inclusive learning environment where students feel valued and empowered.
Yeah, I agree. It's about setting students up for success in every aspect of their lives, not just their careers.
And I think that's a really powerful message.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a powerful message. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the people who are actually delivering the training, the VET workforce.
Okay.
Quality Area 3 really digs into how RTOs make sure that their trainers and assessors are,
Are up to snuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is all about making sure that people at the front of the classroom are equipped to do the job.
Exactly. It starts with workforce planning.
Okay.
RTOs can't just hire anybody off the street.
Right.
They have to think about, what their staffing needs are and make sure they have enough qualified trainers and assessors to actually meet that student demand.
I can imagine that's a real challenge, especially in,
absolutely.
specialized fields.
Yeah.
Where the expertise might be hard to come by.
It can be, for sure. And it's not just about finding qualified people. It's about making sure they stay qualified.
Okay.
The standards really push the importance of ongoing professional development so trainers can keep their skills sharp and stay up to date.
Yeah, you don't want to be learning about computer programming from someone who hasn't coded since the 90s. Right.
Exactly. And speaking of qualifications, these standards don't mess around.
Okay.
Trainers and assessors need to have the right credentials and experience as outlined in the standards, and those qualifications have to be relevant to what they're teaching.
Right, so you can't have a pastry chef teaching welding.
You can't, no matter how much they love working with heat.
Exactly, yeah. It's got to be aligned.
Yeah.
The expertise has to be aligned with the subject matter.
Yeah.
Making sure the students are learning from people who know their stuff.
And on top of that, they also need to maintain current industry skills and knowledge.
Okay.
So they can't just rely on what they learn in school. They have to be actively engaged, going to industry events, working on real-world projects, maybe even mentoring others.
So it's not just about the theoretical knowledge.
It's not.
It's about that practical, up-to-date expertise.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this focus on real-world experience really ties back to one of the overarching themes of these outcome standards. It's making sure that VET is seen as a valuable and credible pathway to employment.
Right. So bridging the gap between, education and the workforce.
Yeah.
Making sure students are actually equipped to hit the ground running.
Now let's zoom out for a minute and talk about the framework that supports all of this, governance. Quality Area 4 really gets into the nuts and bolts of how RTOs are managed, how they ensure accountability, and how they foster that culture of continuous improvement.
Okay, so if the last section was about the people, this is about the systems.
Yeah, you got it.
And the structures in place.
It might not sound as exciting as, training and assessment, but good governance is essential.
Okay.
It's the foundation on which everything else is built.
Okay, so what are some of the, hallmarks of good governance in the context of RTOs?
Well, first of all, it starts with integrity and accountability.
Okay.
RTOs need to be transparent, act ethically, and be accountable for that quality of training.
That sounds pretty straightforward.
It does, but
I imagine it can be hard.
it can be challenging.
To actually put that into practice.
It requires real commitment from that governing body of the RTO.
Okay.
They're the ones who set the tone and ensure compliance.
So they're kind of holding the steering wheel.
Exactly.
Making sure the ship is sailing in the right direction.
They're the captains.
Yeah.
And they need to show that they're making informed decisions, acting in the best interests of students, and really promoting that culture of integrity.
So it's not just about like ticking the boxes.
It's not just ticking boxes.
It's about going above and beyond.
It's about walking the walk.
Yeah, walking the walk.
Not just talking the talk.
Exactly, yeah. And another key aspect is having those clearly defined roles and responsibilities.
Everyone needs to know what they're responsible for, who they report to, and who to go to if there's a problem.
Right. So it's like a clear chain of command.
It is.
Making sure things don't fall through the cracks.
Those lines of accountability are essential for good decision-making.
And that applies to everyone, right?
Everyone.
Not just like the RTO's own staff, but any like third parties they're working with.
Absolutely. The standards say that RTOs are responsible for making sure that any third-party providers are meeting those same standards.
So whether a student's learning from, an in-house instructor or like a contractor, the quality should be consistent.
Which brings us to another crucial aspect of governance.
Well,
risk management.
Risk management, I mean, it might not sound super exciting.
It doesn't.
But I can see why it's important.
Oh, it's incredibly important.
Especially when you're dealing with, people's futures.
RTOs have to identify and manage risks to students, staff, the organization itself.
So like financial risks.
Financial risks.
Conflicts of interest.
Conflicts of interest.
Even student safety.
Absolutely.
So it's about being proactive.
Being proactive.
Putting safeguards in place.
Yes.
Before anything happens.
The standards give you a lot of guidance on the types of risks to consider with a real focus on protecting those vulnerable students.
Like under 18.
Under 18, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and finally, no discussion of governance would be complete without talking about continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement, yeah. It's a big theme.
It's a recurring theme.
Yeah.
It's not just about setting up a system and forgetting about it.
Right.
It's about constantly evaluating, refining, striving to do better.
So recognizing there's always room for improvement.
Always room for improvement.
Yeah.
The standards require RTOs to have systems to monitor and evaluate their performance, and then use that information to inform those continuous improvement efforts.
So it's about creating that culture of reflection, learning, and growth.
Exactly. And that commitment to continuous improvement benefits everyone.
Right. The students, the staff.
The whole sector.
The whole sector, yeah.
It's about raising the bar for quality training across Australia and making sure VET is a relevant and valuable pathway.
For the future.
For the future, yeah. So we've covered a lot today.
Yeah, we have.
We've explored all 4 quality areas.
Training and assessment.
VET student support.
VET workforce.
And governance.
It's a lot to take in, but I think the key takeaway is that focus on a holistic, student-centered approach.
Absolutely. It's about creating an educational experience that goes beyond just technical skills.
Yeah, it's about the support, the well-being, that commitment to success.
And that's something worth celebrating, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about creating a system where every student has the opportunity to thrive.
Yes.
No matter their background or what field they choose.
That's an exciting vision for the future of VET.
It really is. Yeah, it really is exciting.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 2024 outcome standards for RTOs.
Okay.
What are like your final thoughts?
Yeah.
What's the one thing you hope listeners take away from all this?
If I had to pick one thing,
it
would be that these standards represent a real commitment to putting students at the heart of the VET system.
And we've seen that like woven through every single quality area.
Absolutely. It's about, empowering students, giving them the information and support they need to make good choices and making sure that they're heard throughout their whole VET journey.
And it's about, recognizing that support goes beyond just academic.
It's more than just academic.
Right.
It's well-being, it's inclusivity, it's accessibility, it's giving them a real stake in this whole process.
So it's setting a high bar.
It is.
Ultimately, in a way that benefits everybody.
Absolutely. A well-supported student is more likely to succeed.
Right.
Which is good for them.
Yeah.
Good for the RTO.
And good for,
And good for Australia.
The Australian workforce.
The Australian workforce.
Yeah, just like a win-win-win.
A win-win-win.
Here's a question to ponder.
Okay.
As we sign off. What if these principles of like student-centered learning were applied more broadly to like the whole education system?
Yeah. That's a fascinating thought. Imagine a world where
Yeah.
every student felt truly supported
Yeah.
and empowered in their learning.
That's powerful stuff.
It is.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Australian RTOs.
My pleasure.
We hope you've learned some valuable insights
Hmm.
about, the future of vocational education and training in Australia.
I hope so.
To our listeners, keep learning, keep questioning,
Yes.
and keep driving deep.
We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.